one, as a third space in that community for gathering their local community members, also to provide better access to fresh fruits and vegetables that otherwise wouldn't be available in that community. But they also used it for employment as well. So they were also doing employment training through those businesses of local individuals who lived in that community. And of course, those businesses also generated revenue that then helped to fuel their mission and the work they were doing in that community. So many great examples, and I'm sure you'll hear more today. So let me see what else I missed. Oh, the agenda today. So you're going to hear a little bit about the basics of employment social enterprise. There will then, after the short break, there's going to be more of a hands-on workshop to assess whether an employment social enterprise model would make sense for your organization. And so they'll share more with you on that. And then I think that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Greg. So with that, Greg Erickson is Senior Director with REDF, and we have a number of other REDF folks here as well. I don't know if you're going to acknowledge all of them. Can the REDF people all wave to the crowd? Because we have quite a few of you. Thank you all. Can we give them a round of applause for coming in? I just heard we have a couple folks from DC and San Francisco here in the room with us as well. So we're honored to have you here with us in the Inland Empire. But with that, I'm going to turn it over. Greg, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy days to be with us and learn about not only what an employment social enterprise is, but learning about this program called California Rise. I'll start with a quick high level about who is REDF. You'll also hear the word Redefine Alliance. We recently just rebranded as Redefine Alliance. So you'll be hearing both of those terms today. And throughout today, our hope is that you'll not only learn about what California Rise is and what employment social enterprises are, but whether you're doing this work or this is brand new to you, hopefully you walk away with some tangible ideas and examples of this is not, this process of starting or launching a social enterprise is sometimes not for the faint of heart. And it takes a lot of work and energy, but if it's mission aligned and it fits with what your organization is trying to do, it could be the perfect synergy between your workforce development and business development that you may be doing within your organization already. So a little bit about Redefine Alliance or REDF. We've been around for over 3 decades. And our focus is really identifying and helping people who are typically left out of the economy and workforce get jobs. And we do that through that model called employment social enterprises, because we feel like, I think the number is somewhere around 10 million people across the country are left out of the workforce, because rather than seeing an individual for their lived experience and their talents, a lot of people are labeled or judged or not given access to employment because of their history and barriers that they may have faced. But for us, we believe that, like the name says, we want to redefine what talent looks like in this country and help employers see that as an opportunity for them for their talent pipeline. And we do this at Redefine Alliance through a couple of mechanisms. We do capital grant making and lending. We do technical assistance to organizations, and we also do community building and leadership development, because we know this is hard work to do, and we bring together leaders from across the country who are operating ESEs so that they can have peer-to-peer learning and shared experiences and all of those great things. So that's a little bit about us, but let me dive in. What is this thing that you're going to hear a lot, employment social enterprise? So this is essentially where, and Greg did a great job of this, where revenue meets social impact. And so this is our term that we have coined that essentially brings together the components of business where organizations are earning a revenue through the sales of goods and services, but they're using that revenue to reinvest in their organizations to help hire more individuals, like I said, who are typically left out of the workforce and the economy. And I think this is a pretty interesting time for many of you who are, I don't know if everybody in this room, is everybody in this room a nonprofit organization? I don't know, people say it's a hard time for nonprofits. I feel like it's typically always a hard time for nonprofits and fundraising. So maybe this is like an extra hard time for nonprofits. And I recently read an article about, nonprofits having to be innovative in how they generate funding and generate revenue for the services that they're providing. And social enterprise has been one of the big topics that have been coming up. That coupled with, if you're in the workforce space, there's a lot of policy coming down around work requirements. So you see this kind of convergence of a need for revenue, a need for workforce services and employment kind of coming together. And ESE is that model that kind of addresses all of those things. This is a quick snapshot of all the organizations that Redefine and REDF has worked with and the populations that they are employing. So Greg mentioned Goodwill. Jamie's going to talk about a lot of other examples. And this is important because, as I said, this talent is typically overlooked for a number of reasons. And traditional employers may see that you are justice impacted or have experienced homelessness or whatever it may be, and see that as a reason to not hire somebody. And what we're reframing and redefining is that this is actually lived expertise that actually brings value to the job and employers should see as valuable. And this is the type of work, but what individuals need is they need an on-ramp to that. Just going from out of incarceration into employment is really difficult. And ESEs provide that on-ramp into the workforce and back into the economy. So diving a little bit deeper, I like to think of ESEs or employment social enterprises in these three buckets. And I think we have another slide that dives a little deeper, but ESEs, you can think of them, are typically nonprofit organizations. They could be for-profit. And you're selling a good or service. So you could be providing janitorial services and you get paid through contracts. You could be selling a bakery, you could be a coffee place, you could be a retail, you could be culinary. The ESEs intersect many different industries and utilize that revenue, like I said, to really help employ more individuals. And the legal structure could be nonprofit, could be for-profit. And coupled with all of that is not only the job and earning a wage while you're at an ESE, it's the support services and wraparound services that come with it. It's not just about another job. It is the case management, the trauma-informed care, all those other things that go along with helping an individual start at point A to get to point whatever is next in their career pathway. And this is just another way of breaking down, again, what is an employment social enterprise? And I'll say this at the end too, but don't get overwhelmed by these terms. It's a lot to take in today. What I really want you to start to sit with and what Jamie will go over is, trying to see about what is that point where your organization is at, and what is it that you need to continue to advance the work that you're doing within your mission and within your strategic plan, and how might this fit into it to help you go and be more impactful? So again, the buckets are, earned revenue, where you're generating revenue through goods and services, you're employing individuals who have barriers to employment, and then also you're looking at different ways that you're incorporating those wraparound services into your model. That is how we define what an employment social enterprise is. And I think the best way to learn about this is to hear directly from a client, employee of an employment social enterprise. I believe this is Kara, right? This is Kara. Kara is an employment social enterprise in Chicago. And let's see if this video works. Fingers crossed.
Together as a force for good, and I'm proud of it.
Chicago, just like any major city, has a lot of opportunity, but there's large pockets of underestimated and underleveraged talent.
A lot of people have turned their back on us, and that's why I stand so firmly, so strong on the front line to share a message of hope and vision. We got final one. When I was growing up, I was overachiever to a fault. Graduated top of my class. When I arrived at the University of Iowa, less than 10% of the enrollment were African American students. There was just so much pressure to be successful, to escape from those realities. It just seemed easier to choose to party more, more drugs, more alcohol. And so my mom was like, no more mediocrity, pack your bags up. I got in that car and I came back to Chicago. She was taking home a whole new person. I was drinking and I was abusing drugs. So my mom made a conscious decision and she said, I will no longer allow you to hurt yourself in front of us. I'm changing the locks and you got to go. And that day was the day I chose homelessness. I was 25 years old. I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm addicted to drugs. When you're desperate, you do what you must do. And I went to a recovery home for women who are challenged with substance abuse. I hit a turning point when I was introduced to Kara.
Kara is a workforce development and job placement social enterprise, and we're proud to be part of the REDF network. We are purpose-driven, revenue-generating businesses that really help individuals facing employment barriers find good jobs, keep those jobs, and ultimately build a better life.
I was really in a place of desperation. I made a decision at that time. I chose Kara, and I met Mr. Jesse Tavenbaum.
There was just this something magical thing about her.
I was paired with a mentor. She told me about the social enterprise branch of their program, Clean Slate, that offers you an opportunity to clean streets. Jesse has this great mantra, clean the streets like they're paying you $1 million.
Whether you get $100 or $1 million should not make a difference. Give 100%.
I learned the deepest truths of who I was. I learned how to look at the world with new eyes, and I was on my way to secure employment. Today, I work for Chicago Survivors. I manage responses to youth who witness homicides or they have exposure to violence and trauma. I love to volunteer and mentor girls who have been directly impacted by the juvenile detention center. The young people that I serve every day need somebody who believes in them, someone who's listening.
She represents thousands of other people who are struggling and who have struggled, but get up and fight and don't give up.
We're going to share a message of hope, aspiration, resilience. We're going to have passion. We're going to be a bridge. We're coming out of this. Our city would not have this image forever. I was a person who was struggling to overcome employment barriers. Care helped me to get a good job, keep my job. I went from being homeless to being a homeowner. I got married. We have 2 beautiful boys. I want my kids to love who they are, to be a light wherever they go. And I don't want them ever to be ashamed of who we are and where we come from.
Right to clap. We can get, yeah, that's a good. And that is just one example of one individual and one organization in the country. And there's not only thousands of individuals like her, but there's organizations who are doing this really hard work to help people get back on their feet, find jobs, and you know, like it says here, it's definitely more than a job. There's this ripple effect that happens of not only for the individual, the family, the community, and a job is impactful. We, you know, if you think about the first time you earned a paycheck or you had your first job, there's value, there's self-worth, there's a lot of things that's connected to that, and we at Redefine Alliance really feel like that's powerful. So today on your journey, you're going to hear about a program called California Rise. I'll turn it over to you in a second, Jamie. California Rise is a program that's funded by the state of California, the Office of Small Business Advocates. We did a first round of this over the last 2 years, which was a $25 million investment by the state of California. it was successful enough that the state wanted to refund it again. So we're doing a second round of this. It's $17 million for grant making. And this year, the additional component is having this incubator, which is about helping nonprofits who want to not only dive deeper into this earned revenue social enterprise space, but also how do you use that as a powerful workforce development and employment tool. So the team today is going to walk you through. And again, if I could leave on one last note, it's, wherever you are as an organization, I hope that at the end of today, you'll walk away with some tangible ideas of not only what is earned revenue, what is a social enterprise, but also what is this employment social enterprise component. And so hopefully you leave with those tools and those resources and those tangible ideas. And hopefully it's a fit for potentially joining our California Rise program. So have a great day, lots to learn. And thank you, everybody. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Jamie.
Thank you, Greg. Hello, Inland Empire. How are you doing? I'm Jamie, but you can just call me Greg because I'm talking after two other Gregs, so it makes it easier. I work with that Greg at REDF, and I've been working on California Rise for the last couple of years. I'm really excited for this new round, this new cohort. The new California Rise has 3 programs. So today, this workshop right after lunch, if you stick around, we're going to talk about incubator, like Greg said, on the far right here. So this is if you are a nonprofit and want to start an employment social enterprise, like Greg was just talking about. And the whole incubator team is here today, so you guys are in the right place. You've got the perfect crew to ask questions and to work through this workbook that will give you basically some of the answers you'll write into the application. There's 2 other tracks. If you don't quite fit that bill and you're not going to stay for the workshop, you could still qualify for California Rise. So on the left is California Rise Core. That would be if you're an existing employment social enterprise and you haven't been in California Rise yet, you could apply for that. So if you don't need to start one, you already have one, you don't have to stay for the workshop. You can apply in the same application in June for core, and then growth is just for alumni of the California Rise program. I'll go through in detail what the incubator application program timeline looks like. This is the same timeline for all 3 of our tracks. We've got our discovery days today. The application will launch in June. You'll have about a month to fill it out online. There'll even be a little quiz to help you out at the beginning to figure out which track you should for sure apply for. We would let you know by September if you're in, and then programming would start this fall and end about 15 months later next year in December. We would have about 3 in-person events that there would be travel funds for you to get to so you could network with your peers, take workshops and classes in person together, and just have time learning from the statewide California Employment Social Enterprise community. We'll email you when the application gets open. We'll also email you after this event with the slides, with some videos that you can share with your team if you want to get them excited about starting that social enterprise. So I'm going to, after a little bit more talking, I'm going to take a break because some of you might not want to stay for the workshop and some of you might want to stay. To decide, I would look at this slide. This is the most important slide for today. If you're going to apply for our incubator track in California Rise, you have to meet these qualifications in blue. You have to be a 501c3 headquartered in California. You have to be not operating an employment social enterprise, so what Greg was talking about before, but want to start one. And you have to have enough staff and enough staff time to send 2 decision makers to our Zoom and our in-person workshops. Why? So that there's buy-in at your organization for this huge task of starting an employment social enterprise. I started an employment social enterprise in San Francisco called Farming Hope, and it is not for the faint of heart, as Greg referenced earlier. So having that partner is a huge benefit to getting your business off the ground. And then lastly, your employment social enterprise would have to hire as employees adults with barriers to work, which is defined by Title 29. I have an exact list of that. I'll pass out a packet at the end with the definitions of barriers to employment according to Title 29. So if you have any questions, we'll answer that to you. And then, of course, the most important, you have to want to start an employment social enterprise. You have to be crazy enough to do this. I promise it's fun. I promise it's tough. So if you If you want to stick around, our workshop will be about 2 hours. Like I said, we'll have a workbook. It'll be a lot of conversation with your table and with our staff at REDF, and you'll actually get to some decision points where you can hone on potentially what type of business, what industry you might be starting. So whether you have a firm idea of what you want to start or you're just thinking about it, this is the workshop for you for this track. If you're not sure if you want to stay, during this break when we transition, just ask me and the REDF staff about the particulars of your situation, and we can try to help you. There's also a few off ramps, so if I'm not as funny as you want me to be, if you're not learning what you want, I'm not going to cry if you leave halfway through this. I'll even give you a break or two where you can head out. So if you want to stick around a little bit and you're on the fence, that's cool too. Start filling out the packet, get to know more of the background of California Rise, and that might help you in your decision making either now or in the future to start an employment social enterprise. So that's it. I'm going to pause for about 10 minutes. My one ask is that those of you who are sticking around after lunch, fill the tables in the front. So this is like church when the pastor's like, everybody up to the front of the pews. I don't want to be talking to empty pews. And you actually have to because you're going to be in conversation with your table mates. So no 1 or 2 people at a table, no one in the back, everyone filling in the front. I'm going to get some music going. Y'all can finish lunch, grab some more if you need. And in about 10 minutes, we'll start with the incubator workshop. Thanks, everyone.